When we talk about creativity and expression and transformation as far as how we express ourselves, we have to kind of look at a couple of different things right off the bat, right? And my business is called Creative Transformations because for me, I've studied transformation extensively, and all transformation is a form of creativity. So, and the real way to engage in it as an art form in life is through creative processes, by studying and understanding and learning creative processes, and then being able to intentionally employ them in your own life as a way of developing yourself by being creative, using yourself, so to speak, as the creation, right? Which is what we really do in life all the time. But unfortunately, the only time we really tend to get this is when we're kids, or when we kind of come into our teenage years and we're aware of the fact that we're stepping into ourselves and we're creating senses of ourselves by play acting stuff and acting in certain ways or embracing certain ideas and kind of bringing them in as our style, right? To kind of see how it feels and to get a feel for ourselves as a certain type of person. But once we become adults, and society works on us, right? I mean, who knows, but we kind of end up someplace in our mid-20s to, maybe 30-ish, and we're pretty much set in our ways by then, and we hardly ever not only evolve more at this stage, but we certainly don't engage in regular acts of transformation, personal transformation, as far as intentionally engaging in the processes to develop ourselves in very specific ways through choice and free will, right? But one of the things that I invite you to do is, whenever you think about creativity, whenever you think about the imagination, is instead of thinking that creativity is just about art or, music, dance, sculpting, that type of stuff, think of creativity as a mindset. Creativity is something that we're actually capable of doing all the time, in just by mere living and having experiences and thinking about stuff, if we have an attitude that brings a sense of novelty to situations, where we're willing to be present in the moment and just naturally and spontaneously interact with whatever's happening to kind of create a new type of experience out of everyday situations, as well as being able to look at ourselves and say, okay, this is what we call the formative years, the years of conditioning that developed me in a certain way, stimulated me in ways, brought qualities out in me that I got good at, that I habituated because I used them a lot, right, as I was interacting with people. And of course, part of the way that we're conditioned is that the like qualities of the people conditioning us stimulate the same type of qualities in us, that develop certain characteristics in us that are like the people that do the training, like our parents, like our, the prominent people in our life as we're growing up that have a direct influence on us. We tend to kind of imitate their behavior, and they're stimulating the same things in us, bringing them out in us, and then we use them as a form of interaction, which means we strengthen them and develop them into a point where they become habitual, okay? And then when we get up to a certain point in life where we kind of end up in life, I call it life by default, right? And only a certain part of this has any kind of conscious effort involved in it. It's mostly just stuff that we're engaging in and we're doing without really thinking about it, or without any direct awareness of what we're doing. So, but once we get up, and this is what many traditions call, the rebirth, the awakening, what they call born again, that type of stuff, comes from the fact that once we are developed and we hit a certain point, and we're kind of like, we have developed at this point completely at an unconscious level, we now have the ability to say, who am I? right? Who do I want to be in the world? What kind of person do I want to be? What kind of things do I want to do? How do I want to express myself? And we can continue our development from a conscious level where we facilitate our own growth, okay? And we not only facilitate our own growth in terms of the situations we intentionally place ourselves in, which are going to have a direct influence on us, that are going to naturally develop us in certain ways, as well as key relationships in our life that we engage in and begin an interaction with, that bring out certain qualities in us and strengthen them and develop them as a constant form of interaction with somebody based on the type of relationship that we have with them. But we can continue the process that we did basically as kids and realize that our imagination is actually our whole body. It's not just something that exists in our head that we picture in our mind and we create little visions of, so to speak, that enhance it with sensory enhancement, and then that's as far as it goes. Art, creativity is bringing an idea in, making something, expressing it as in the practical realm, in our everyday life. We create something, make something, become something, okay? Especially when we're what we're creating, we actually become a product of our own creation. So if we continue doing it like we did when we were kids, because we knew we come into the world getting this, okay? It gets trained out of us, but as children, we know how to do this. And that is, if I decide I want to develop myself in a certain way, right? Develop a certain characteristic, a certain quality, and I look around and I see somebody out here in my environment that has a characteristic I like. There's something about this person I like, right? And I say, so I kind of study the person, just like we did when we were kids, right? When we were kids, it was like superheroes and secret agents and, cowboys and Indians. And we picked certain icons, and then we would go create imaginary situations, and we would pretend, and we would act out and act just like that character. Well, in our adult life, we do the same thing, and we nowadays we commonly refer to this as modeling, but it's basically the same idea. And it says, I like this quality about them, I like how they do this, I like how they're being in this situation, so I pick them out, I study their behavior. What is it about them that pulls this off, right? What characteristic do they have? How are they being? How are they acting? What's their persona? What's the emotional quality? How are they doing whatever trait I like, right? And then I practice being just like them. I practice either holding my body the same way, talking the same way. I embody the beingness. How are they being? And I be the same way. And I get it I practice it until I feel like I've kind of got it, right? And then when I've got it, I keep practicing it over and over and over to kind of instill it, right? To build it into the muscle, so to speak, to become the expression of that quality and develop that characteristic in myself. And by pretending, right? It's the same thing. Okay, I've got the feeling, I've got the idea, now I'm going to pretend and go practice being this way and just act this way until it starts getting comfortable, until I start blending my own style with it, and until I can start doing it without thinking about it, right? Until I habituate myself to that behavior so it becomes natural and automatic. So, but this is just one of the very basic ways to use your imagination, to use your creativity, to develop yourself, to be different, to be certain ways, to be able to express yourself in a vast array of possibilities, rather than just getting so stuck in being a certain way all the time that you just never really move out of that, right? And the only thing that determines whether you change or not is whether you can't find the same type of clothes anymore, so you have to change your style, or something of that nature. And understand too that creativity and self-expression is very rewarding, it's very fulfilling, it's very fun, it's very cool to do, right? I mean, it's an enjoyable activity. And especially, it gives us a sense of having a handle on things, right? It gives us a sense of being able to become whoever we decide to be when we get good at it, right? So, and as well as it really helps us to kind of develop an idea about how do we want to be, right? Some people don't even, never take the time to develop an ideal of themselves as their vision for creating, so that they can intentionally develop themselves to be a certain way. So they don't even have a vision for their life. Or if they have a vision for their life, it's more in terms of like a job and a situation and where I'm going to live, but it's not a vision for them, right? Which is the only thing that they really have direct control over all the time is, who am I? Who do I want to be? What kind of person do I want to be? How do I want to be in this situation, right? What sense of myself do I want to cultivate until it becomes normal, until it becomes natural? How do I want to feel about myself? And what skills or tendencies or abilities do I want to intentionally cultivate so that I can get really good at them, because it means a lot to me to be good at these, or because I want to become masterful at something, right? So, but create a vision for yourself, create an idea of who you want to be, how you want to be, imagine it in your mind, find somebody in your environment that you can imitate, that you can pick out and imitate their behavior, imitate how they're being, the quality of their beingness, so to speak, embody it, pretend, act it out, and then playfully kind of keep on doing it over and over until it starts becoming real natural and you get used to it and you kind of habituate yourself to that behavior and you just start doing it automatically. So bring back the playfulness that we had when we were children, and life was, life was a fun activity. So, but that's just one way to use your imagination in the sense of the full body expression to intentionally develop yourself.